Welcome back to a new video. Today we are gonna tackle down another lab machine from Cyberseclabs. The machine is Zero, and it is another Active Directory, Windows Active Directory lab, right? So previously we have solved Secret, which is also Active Directory. Now today we're gonna solve Zero, and this is the IP. Basically, and by solving Zero, the last thing that will remain is lazy, right? And after we solve lazy, we're going to be okay with all of the labs, all of the beginner labs with Cyberseclabs. All of the walkthroughs of Cyberseclabs are in my playlist, Cyberseclabs walkthrough. You can find it in my channel. Just do some, go to playlist and you can find it. So today our video is going to be about Zero. So let's get started. Okay, so basically the first thing we do all the time is to do nmap scanning. And after the nmap scanning is finished, we have the, I'm going to explain again. As you can see, we have here, it's saying blatantly that we are testing an Active Directory machine, Microsoft Active Directory, and this is the protocol that Active Directory relies on. This is the other open ports, and as we can see here, if you go down, we have a bit of details about the Active Directory. So as you can see, it is domain controller, and the computer name is 0DC, right? These details are very important when you do Active Directory pen testing. Why? You're going to need these details during your enumeration phase of any Active Directory connected machine. It doesn't necessarily need to be domain controller. It can be domain connected part of the Active Directory hierarchy. So just take a note of the computer name, the domain name, the DNS domain name here, the computer name, which is here is the 0.sl is the domain name, right? So this is a domain name, and this is the computer name, which is part of this domain. So that is the main domain, and this is the computer that is part of the domain, and this computer is domain controller. Okay. So we know that we are in front of an Active Directory machine. So every Windows box, every Windows Active Directory box is different. So we need to approach every Windows box from different perspective. But the common ground between all of these Active Directory machines is they are Active Directory machines, right? Okay, so we don't want to make things long, and we can hop directly to the idea of this, to the main the core idea of this video. So basically, if we go back, as you can see here, the machine name is Zero. And previously there was a vulnerability called Zero Logon that targeted Active Directory installations. So when we say Zero, our mind directly goes to that vulnerability. So what is that vulnerability? Okay, so here is Zero Logon. And this is the page from Trend Micro, and here's an explanation about the vulnerability. You can go to the page and read all about this vulnerability and how it worked and how it was targeted against Active Directory systems. So basically, in a nutshell, this Active Directory, this vulnerability, only requires you to run the exploitation tool against the Active Directory machine. Given the fact that you have some info like the computer name, the domain controller, some enumeration details, just connect with the exploitation tool, right? And then this vulnerability allows you, oh, what was that? Okay. This vulnerability allows you to reset the password of the account. So you're gonna be able to log in to the Active Directory workstation or domain controller, right? Without supplying a password. That is the vulnerability. So given the details we have, we're going to use these details to connect with an exploitation tool of the Zero Logon vulnerability to reset the Active Directory password. Now you might tell me, let's go back here. So the date of this vulnerability is 2020, right? So it's pretty much quite recent vulnerability. And it is not old for those guys who's going to say, yeah, old vulnerability, and we only aim towards solving machines or doing practices for all vulnerabilities. This is a new one, and I think if you do a bit of scouring on the internet, we're gonna find 50% of the enterprises are vulnerable to this vulnerability. So that's why I like doing pen testing for Active Directory systems. Okay, so keep please keep popping up. Okay, so what's our next step? Our next step is to find an exploitation way tool for this zero logon vulnerability. We're not gonna normally you would tackle down every single port, right? But we are solving a machine lab, and of course I did the video. I did the machine before I produced the video, so I want to just jump directly to the point. The point is we're going to search for an exploitation tool for that. And the exploitation tool that popped up is this one. So here, as you can see, this is the CVE, right? And this tool will do the trick. So all we have to do is to follow the instructions, and hopefully we're going to be able to exploit. But first, we need to understand how it works. So basically here, it's saying more info and original research in here, okay? Let's click on that. So this is also another explanation of how the vulnerability worked. Let me go back. Okay, so all we have to do now is to install this exploit, understand how it works, and customize it to fit the requirements of our lab, and then we launch it. Okay, so here we're gonna copy the link. This is my another machine. Okay, so now we go back, Chrome browser. Oh, 2 instances. Why? I might have pressed the button 2 times. Okay. All right. So let's go to that tool, and we're gonna copy that. Go back to our command line. I'm not sure I like this. Okay. Go back, and here we're gonna clear. Oh, let's leave. We're gonna need these details. So let's leave the nmap window here, and we're gonna split from here. All right. Okay, so sudo git clone, and here we download the exploit. All right, so ls, so we have the exploit here. Let's cd, cve. All right, so we have restore password, and we have this. Let's go back and see what is the required file to run. So basically it only works on Python 3.6 and newer, so make sure you have Python 3. Exploit steps, read the blog paper above so you know what you're doing, and run this. So you're going to run this tool, this file, with IP and BIOS name of the DC. That's why we're going to need these info from the nmap scan. DC sync with secret dump using or empty hashes and the DC host name. So we're going to need also secret dump from impaket, which is a tool to dump the hashes of Windows system or Active Directory system given the authentication info you have. So after we run the exploit will reset the password of the Active Directory workstation. After we reset the password, we're going to be able to use secret dump with the new password, which is blank, right? To dump the hashes of the administrator. That's the mechanism. Of course, we can also use Mimikatz, which I am going to show you how. Okay, now, so how are we going to do that? Let's first do the requirements. So first, we're going to need to do some stuff with Python 3. So Python 3-m pip install virtual environment. We're going to need this. So virtual environment is required to run this exploit. So just install it by writing this command. So I already have this. That is good. Now the next thing, we're going to install impaket Python 3-m virtual env, and then we're going to type impaket. Oh, so I have here 0, it's going to be dash. All right, so we have some error. Python 3-m virtual environment. Is not okay. So we need to run sudo, I think. So this is done. Now the next thing, let's activate impaket. So sudo source impaket, and then we're going to run bin activate. Okay. So next we're going to install pip install or sudo we're going to need the impaket actually. So, or let's do that. So basically git https. Let's get the URL. So we go back. Impaket is required to run this exploit as well. So be sure to install impaket as per the steps we have taken. Okay, so we have successfully installed impaket. Now we are ready to run the exploit. So clear. Okay, so we have this file. So we're going to run that sudo python, and here take the name. So second, we're going to supply the requirements. So basically, we're going to supply some requirements or some details about the machine we are targeting. So let's go to the nmap scan and find what we are looking for. So basically, what we're going to need the, let's go down, the computer name and the IP address. That's the computer name domain controller. We are targeting domain controller here, and the IP address on which the domain controller is hosted. So here I'm going to write 0 DC, and then we're going to type the IP address, which is, let me bring the IP. Okay, so it is 172.31.1.29. Invalid syntax. Sudo python 3. I should specify that. Okay. So now the exploit is fuzzing, and see what's going to happen if the target is vulnerable or not. Of course, it's vulnerable, but that's what we do to know. Well, it took some time, so I don't think we have some wrong right, so here it is 0, I think, 0. Let's try that. Okay, so what we changed is from uppercase to lowercase y. If we go back to the nmap scan, you see here, I know the NetBIOS computer name is in capital, but if you go down, you see the full qualified computer name according to its DNS, it's 0 with lowercase letters ERO. Okay, so the target is vulnerable. So what we're going to do about this? If the target is vulnerable, what we're going to do here, we're going to exploit that. As you can see, the exploit has already done the exploitation part on our behalf, and it's saying changing account password to empty string. Now the account used on the Active Directory is now, or has been reset to an empty string, meaning that the password now is blank. Now our next step, after we have reset the password, we can now use secret dump.py as instructed by the exploit to dump the password hashes. Here are the instructions, right? So we are just following what the exploit developers have just outlined. So next is secret dump. So now sudo secret dump.py, and then we're going to supply the arguments. So according to the exploits, we're going to supply here the, let's go down, the no pass and just DC, which means we are targeting the domain controller with no password or blank password. So no pass and then just DC. All right, so the next thing, let's go back, and here are empty hashes and the DC hostname account. So we're going to supply some info. What is that? Oh, okay. We're going to need to supply some details here about the target. So here, let's see what we have. Oh, so basically we're going to supply the domain name, which is 0. So here, type 0. And then we're going to need some backslash. Let's go bring this backslash from somewhere. Okay, so here is the backslash. All right, so here, the next thing we're going to supply is the computer name. The computer name is 0DC, right? So here I'm going to type 0DC with a $sign. Why? That's what's required actually by the exploit. So as you can see, $sign. You need to put that. Okay, then we close the double quote and we put the IP address, which is 172.31.29. Now, so that, as you can see, where is my mouse? Okay, my mouse. Okay. So here I have the domain name, the computer name, and the IP. So let's see if that works. Oh, I'm not sure. Okay, so the tool has succeeded in lumping the hashes. As you can see, we have the administrator and the NTLM hash. So our next step now is to take that, all of it, right, and use it to log in to the Active Directory with privileged accounts. So we can either use evil WinRM or we can either use psexec. But evil WinRM will not work since we don't have the port open, right? The Windows Remote Management Service port is not open. Let's check back. 5000 something is not here. 5000 something is not here. So the only way is to use ps-exec to run, to do that. So basically, okay, so ps sudo python 3 ps-exec.py -- hashes, and here we go up, take that, and go down. Next, we're going to specify the account, which is administrator at DIP 172.31.1 something. I can't remember what it is. Let's go back to, okay, 29. Okay, so it is the double hashes. We're going to remove one. Run. Okay, so right now we have elevated our privileges successfully. And we are, if we type who am I, we are net authority system, who am I, groups. Let's see, as you can see, we are part of administrators, everyone, authenticated users, system mandatory level label, whatsoever. We can continue in enumeration, but at this stage, you are the administrator of the system and you have accomplished your mission. What else? What is another way of doing this? Okay, we have an exploitation tool. We just use that exploitation tool as instructed. We install all the requirements. We just used all of the info we have collected about the target system, including the computer name, the domain name, the NetBIOS name, the DNS name, and we used all of these harvested data to feed our exploit in order to make our attack successful. That's very basic, actually, right? We just use an exploit, ready exploit, right? We haven't done anything of effort that is remarkable, right? What else we can do, actually? We can use Mimikatz to do that, but the use of Mimikatz is a bit different for this scenario. You can use Mimikatz in the same way to exploit Zero Logon Vulnerability if you are, right, if you have unprivileged access. For example, let's say here we have administrator, right? And we have Jared. So let's log in with Jared and let's see how we can elevate our privileges with Mimikatz, right? This is another way of doing the privilege escalation. So let's take that. Okay, go back. Let's leave the session here as it is. We don't want to lose it. And we're gonna do split. Make this up. Take this here. Okay. So here, sudo python 3, or let's go to cd impaket, cd examples. Okay, sudo python 3 secrets dump.py, and then we're going to supply the hash dash hashes, and we're going to paste the hash of the non-privileged user, right? Then this is jred, okay, at 172. Again, I forget the IP all the time. The IP, it is, okay, 13.1.29. Oh, access denied. So it didn't work on that user. No idea why. Let's go up, view the hashes again. No idea why it didn't work. Guest. Kerberos key is grabbed. Okay. Let me take this. You just want any account, any non-privileged account. That's my purpose. Go down, go left, sorry. Okay, paste. And here, we're gonna remove that. It's gonna be 0 DC. Again, we failed. Let's try with guest. But I think if we gained access to the guest account, it's not going to be privileged enough to run Mimikatz. We need some privileged accounts. And here we're going to do guest. The first account is currently disabled. Okay, let me try one last time with Jared. So we take that. Oh, okay. Let's replace this. Okay, log in. Oh, it didn't work. It didn't work. So this we can't log in with this user. So we have we can't log in with this one as well. Jared cast. Okay, so we can only use administrator, which we have already done. So we're going to close this terminal. We don't use that anymore. Okay. So let's demonstrate that from the administrator account, shall we? Let's go down. Okay, so we are the administrator now. What is another way? That's what we talked about. So basically here, if you go back, I have Mimikatz on my system, which is Mimikatz. Where are you? Why I don't have Mimikatz? Okay, let's go back. Right, Mimikatz. So Mimikatz. Let's see. No, I want the. Okay, let me put here .exe. And we're going to download it from here. Go down. Okay, so this is Mimikatz. Let's put that to desktop, or it's auto down. It doesn't ask me. Thanks. Show folder. Come on. Okay. Oh, I have it. Okay, let's delete this. Let's open that. Open an arc. Let's extract that to my desktop. So extract, close, go down. All right, so we have this one. Let's make sure 64 Mimikatz. Great. Okay, so now we're gonna split the view again. CD to Mimikatz. CD M. No. Okay, CDM, CDX. Okay, sudo python 3-m http.server. Let's download Mimikatz now. Here, cert hotel-url cache http 10.0.7 8000, and the file name is Mimikatz, right? Oh my god. 64 mimikatz.exe. Okay, mimikatz.exe. All right, so I have restored my access to the machine. Okay, let's now download Mimikatz and illustrate the solution another way. So cd, let's take the directory here, copy that, paste. So we have users. Let's go to users. Let's go to that damn user. Okay, so now let's download. Oh, search retail -url cache -f http 10.10.07 8000 Mimikatz. All right, so now let's run Mimikatz and see how we can exploit the same vulnerability with Mimikatz. Suppose that in this scenario, suppose that you are Jared, right? So you are Jared here, and you are not administrator. You have got some unprivileged or non-privileged access to the Active Directory, and you are Jared, and you know damn sure that there is zero logon vulnerability. So what you do here, if you are in this situation, you're gonna use Mimikatz to reset the Active Directory password and dump the credentials. So here we're gonna run Mimikatz. Okay, then we're gonna use LSA dump. Okay, so here we're gonna specify DC sync, right? And then we can specify the domain name. Oh, one, which is let's go down, see the domain name. The domain name is 0.sl. Okay, so here 0.csl. Right, so the domain controller now, DC. So the domain controller name is this one. So it's going to be 0DC, right, dot 0CSL. So 0DC dot 0CSL. Right, now, second, we're going to use user. It's going to be KRPTGT. And then the authentication user. In this case, we're going to use the current user, I guess, right? Or the administrator. Okay, the current user. Oh, no. I think we're going to use 0DC in this case. The domain, the computer name. Let me think about this. Okay, let's use 0. All right. Next, we're going to use authentication domain. The authentication domain will be the name, right, which is 0. Authentication password is going to be blank. And then we're going to use authenticate with NTLM. So we got an error here. Okay, so maybe we need to run Mimikatz first. Okay, so I'm gonna copy that all the way from here, here. As you can see here, let's go up. As you can see, the password is empty, right? Let's go down, SAM account, and this is the NTLM hash. Go a bit more down, stopping the info, right? Let's compare the hashes here. If you go up, we have A1 till CF. I don't know if you have this before. So let's go up and examine the results. Let's make this narrower and make this a bit wider. Okay, so what we did now, as you can see, we have dumped some credentials from Mimikatz, and we have reset the password. Now, one thing left actually, before we wrap up, we need to run another command, right, to make sure that the password has been reset. So let's go down, and here we're gonna use the same module, LSA dump. So here we made sure that it is vulnerable. So dump, and then we're gonna use Zero Logon module from Mimikatz. The target is it's gonna be 0 dot. Let's go that back up. We need to go to the nmap scan. So here 0dc 0.csl. All right, let's go down. So .csl, and then we're gonna type the account name, which is of course 0dc dollar here. Okay, then we can type exploit. Error. Let's try again. So here we have to, I think, let's retype the target. And 0, okay, dot 0.csl. Oh, account, WDC, target. All right, I think we have something wrong in writing the target. So here again, I'm gonna copy that, go down, target, in this case, 0, inside the computer name, count. All right, that seemed to work. So now it's trying to authenticate, right? So we have just loaded Mimikatz, right, and supplied the module Zero Logon, the target details, which is the computer name and the account, and then exploit. Don't forget the $sign. And of course, before we run exploit, we need to make sure that it is vulnerable by running the previous command. Once we see some hashes here, it means that we have something to work on. Okay, so now it's saying that the authentication is okay and the target may be unstable, right? So it means that it is exploitable. So what I need to do now in order to complete the process, we're gonna go back, we're gonna borrow the same command here, which is this one, yes, and run it. Okay, so if we go up before it finished, if we go up, 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 so we have some credentials. If you take that and try to log in with this, let's go up, we see something else. Okay, this is the hash of this user. Where is the user? Let's go down. So we dumped the NTLM hash of this user. We can try another user actually. Until it finishes, we're going to try with administrator and we're going to try with Jared. Okay, now let's go back and try this against the administrator, which is our objective. Oh, I can't. Okay, so I need to modify the comment on my local machine. No! Okay, no problem. Let's fire up this one. Here we're going to type administrator, copy that, go back. Can you just finish this? I fear if I type Control C, it's going to end up my session, which is something I don't want. Oh my God. Why is that? Something is weird happening, right? Let me Control C here. I don't want this to happen. Let's log in. Okay, let's go to city again. City users. Okay, let's go back, grab this, and run it to dump the admin hash. So this is exactly the admin hash, if you remember, which we used to log in, right? So we have elevated our privileges two ways. With the exploit, right, we have just applied, right, and with Mimikatz. Now the method of Mimikatz only works, I'm gonna remind you guys, only works, in this case, it does apply, but since you have access to the administrator account, there is no need to use Mimikatz, right? But in a way or another, you have some access to workstation that is not admin, right? So you can dump the credentials using Mimikatz and exploit the Zero Logon vulnerability with Mimikatz. Okay, so I'm gonna stop this. We don't need to do that anymore. Okay. All right then. That was it. Thank you so much.